Hello, everybody. This is Louise Edington, the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology, here today to talk about Pluto moving into Aquarius. Now, I've done presentations before on, and many astrologers have, of what we think might come with Pluto moving into Aquarius. Now, I think we're pretty sure that there's probably going to be technical kind of transformations and change in many ways, kind of digging out what's not working. I really, for one example, currently, as I record this on November the 18th, Pluto seems to be revealing the shadow of a lot of the tech or the rather the crypto world and such like that. Some people think Pluto in Aquarius will bring more crypto in. We'll see, I guess. Now, Aquarius is a quirky sign. It is a mix of very futuristic kind of energy, very modern, very alien, very thinking outside the box. It's quite a revolutionary sign, but it's also got this traditional conservative side. And I've often said that the Aquarian energy that we're moving into, I'm not going to call it the age of Aquarius because nobody ever agrees about what that means or when it starts. But anyway, I've said that Aquarius energy is going to bring in a mix of the very ancient, the best of in a new way, in a very futuristic way. Of course, there's always the chance that it brings in, what people's cyber nightmares are, but I've never heard as much chatter recently as I have recently about cybercrime and so on. So, every sign has its yin and yang. So, we're going to just see what Pluto in Aquarius brings. But I wanted to address a comment on one of my videos that I did with Kathy and Andy. And incidentally, we'll be looking more at this Pluto into Aquarius with some other charts next time we meet. I'm not going to talk about those today, but I do actually want to show you. Oh, where's it gone? I've got so many things open. Here it is. All right, so about how long Pluto spends in a sign. All right, so I've got this little screenshot. I'll make it bigger. You can actually just put Pluto orbit in and find lots of images. All right, so Pluto's orbit is elliptical. All right, so Pluto's orbit is unusual compared to many of the other planets in our solar system. It's oval shaped or elliptical, but it's also tilted, as you can see, at 17.1 degrees. Well, that is 17.1 degrees to the ecliptic. It's more eccentric than any other planet, meaning it's far from circular. And Pluto does take 248 years to complete. Now, without going into many kind of, details astronomically that I probably am very inadequate to explain, all I will say is that this unusual orbit really means that it spends different periods in each sign. Okay, currently, so this was where Pluto was in 2018, just 6 years ago, and you can see that it's closest to Earth, so it's spending the least time in the signs at those points. Okay, because it's just moving faster. It's closer to Earth from our perspective. It was doing the same in 71, and incidentally, Pluto's nodes are also in Capricorn and Cancer because every planet has nodes. And I am putting a wonderful gathering on in January the link to register will be ready very soon, where I've gathered some amazing astrologers together. And one of my guests is the amazing Mark Jones, talking about the birth of modern astrology and also about the planetary nodes. But I just wanted to show you that this is why it's unusual. This is why we say Pluto was in the sign of Capricorn for 16 years and will be in the sign of Aquarius for about 20 years. And then I say about because of retrogradation. So let me just give you some dates. I'm not going to share the screen, but for example, Pluto moved into Capricorn 3 times in 2008, from the beginning to the end of 2008, because it was going back and forth, retrograding back into Sagittarius. So really Pluto in Capricorn began in 2008, but Pluto has been leaving Capricorn since March of 2023. Pluto started to move into Aquarius in March, on March 23rd, 2023, then moved in again on January the 20th, 2024, and now has finally moving in tomorrow on November the 19th, that's 2024. So you can see that it kind of is 16 years total. Now, I did misspeak on an interview video because I think I said 24 years and I don't know where I'm going out with that one. Pluto is moving into Aquarius, started March 2023, finishes moving in finally till 2024, and will then leave Aquarius and move into Pisces twice. March the 8th, 2043, then will retrograde back, and finally on to January the 19th, 2044. So if we take it from the first one of going into Aquarius, which was March 23rd, 2023, to the last one, 2024, that's almost 21 years. So can you see why we're a little bit fuzzy with the dates, because it just bobs back and forth, all right, into Capricorn and into back into Aquarius, and then we'll do the same from Aquarius to Pisces from 2043 to 2044, all right. And this is because of its unusual orbit. And then when Pluto moves into the sign of Pisces, it will be even longer in that sign. Okay, so you can, maybe I'll put together a table for the signs, but I think there are some out there already. So anyway, Pluto is finally moving into the sign of Aquarius tomorrow. Now then, how do we kind of gauge what it's going to be like? Well, you know, astrology tends to look backwards at history for kind of a feel of what was going on during the last period of a planet through a sign. Now then, I will say that was the main thing was the American Revolution. Now, I'm not going to there were some other things, but from 1777 to 1798, the most significant world which is when Pluto was in Aquarius last time, was the American Revolutionary War, which saw the American colonies declare independence from Great Britain. The late 18th century also saw growing tensions in Europe that led to the French Revolution, marked by radical political and social upheaval in France. So, you know, in 1777, you know, the American Revolution kind of started and then ended in 1783. But Pluto was in Aquarius until 1798. And the French Revolution ran from 1789 to 1798. So you can see it was a revolutionary time. And I suspect that this time will be as well. But I just kind of want to go back a little bit for you. All right. And so tell you why it's only a guide. All right. Because, oh, well, there's a lot different. So this is the chart for the first ingress of Pluto into Aquarius in 1777. So here you can see Pluto is in Aquarius. The nodes were not where they are now. In fact, the nodes are in the Cancer-Capricorn axis where Pluto has been now. Okay, the moon's nodes, that is. Other things that are different is that Neptune was in the opposing sign. The USA has, of course, had its Neptune opposition. Things that are the same is Chiron. Chiron has been going back and forth to that 19-degree Aries mark now for quite some time, and we had an eclipse on this Chiron mark. Now, does this mean that the US is going to break apart and all things like that? Not necessarily. And there's a couple of other reasons I think it could be different, or it could be similar. All right. History repeats, doesn't rhyme, is the saying. Okay, so this is 1777 on the inside. You can see Chiron back at 19 degrees, has been back and forth. Uranus in 1777 was at 8 Gemini, and Uranus is still in Taurus this time. We'll be moving into Gemini though. You can see that Jupiter was in Cancer at that time, and the North Node in Cancer. Jupiter's not there now, but looking at the even slower moving planets, as I said, Neptune is in the opposing signs. Now then, that's one reason I think it could be different, because all the other planets are speaking to each other differently, okay, in many ways. And there's another reason I think it could be different. Now, Uranus was discovered on, I'm just going to stop here. Uranus was discovered in 1781. So, you know, Uranus was discovered during the time where Pluto happened to be in the sign of Aquarius. In fact, do I have? I think I've got the discovery of Uranus chart. So shall we have a look at that while I talk? Because that was when Pluto was in Capricorn. So Uranus was discovered March 13th, 1781. Pluto had been in Aquarius for 3 years solidly by that point. So here is Pluto on the south node, because this is, you know, where during the time the US was formed. And here we have, when Uranus was discovered, the whole picture of the chart looks very, very different right then. However, Uranus was discovered when Pluto was going through the sign of Aquarius. And Uranus is associated with the sign of Aquarius. So, you know, there's links and there's rhymes. But Pluto then moved out of Aquarius 1798, and there were no more planetary discoveries until asteroid Ceres on 1801, which is actually a planet in my opinion. And then Pluto was 1930. There was, you know, all the other planets. You can look at those dates of discovery. So, and here's where I have to qualify a few things. I got slammed in the comments by one person on the interview I did with Steve Judd for saying these modern planets were discovered. Now, I'm going to say that they were discovered by the modern kind of Western culture that was founded, kind of the patriarchal culture that was founded kind of on Greek myths and things. However, there is a lot of evidence amongst ancient cultures that they somehow understood and knew about some of these other planetary bodies. I'm convinced they knew about Ceres. I'm convinced they knew about Vesta and probably Uranus and Pluto, maybe not some of the really far out, newly discovered planets by us. But when I say discovered, I mean by the current culture, way of being, way of living together on the earth that we live in and that we are leaving as we move into a new paradigm. And basically, it means by the scientific, empirical, rational brained, got to see it with your eyes or it doesn't exist kind of, scientific side of astrology. Now, there is also plenty of evidence to say that the discovery of these planets in our psyche changed something within us, changed how we saw things. Uranus involved revolution, as we saw, but also kind of since the discovery of Uranus, we've had all these technological breakthroughs and an industrial revolution and so on and so forth. Pluto is generally associated with nuclear power, but also deep psychological exploration and the birth of modern psychology. Neptune was the discovery of, was very much associated with the birth of spiritualism and kind of this, and some energy of cultism, and there's so much more to it. I'm sure you could Google if you want to. But this is what I mean when I say discovered. I mean from the current world, society, mind that we live in now, our consciousness, our collective consciousness. So when Pluto was moving through Aquarius last time, we didn't know it was there, this current zeitgeist. And so what is it going to be? What is it going to do differently this time? Is it going to excavate the shadow of all these discoveries to some degree? Or quantum science has been exploding since all these discoveries. We've had industrial revolutions, we've had actual revolutions, we've had big changes in how we live on the earth. Maybe Pluto is going to excavate, what we should have done differently, or what we could have done differently. I don't believe in the shoulds. So, this is all I want to say, that it could. Please don't necessarily think that because the USA and France, for example, are having had their revolutions last time, that they're going to have the same kind of revolution this time. It could be very different. All the other planets are in the same place. They're all making big aspects to each other. One other example is that back then, we did not have all the slow-moving planets or the outer planets or trans-Neptunian planets, whatever you want to call them, changing signs within months of each other, whether we knew they were there or not. So some things are very different and some things will be resonant. That's why I always really like that quote, that history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. I have suggested that perhaps, speaking as USA, because we see what's going on here, that the Constitution might have big amendments, or it's possible it could be the people might rise up and say against all the oligarchs and against the autocrats, because the shadow of Aquarius is autocracy, and we do see the autocrats on the rise. So, you know, there's a lot going on, and Pluto is not working alone either way. You know, I kind of feel a little bit annoyed when people just almost kind of blame everything on Pluto or put everything down to Pluto at all, because Pluto is not acting alone. Pluto is acting in coordination with other planets. So bring me to now. And I'm just going to give you a little overview of what I'm talking about. So now, as Pluto moves into the sign of Aquarius tomorrow, November the 19th, 3:39 p.m. Eastern, 2024, there's Pluto. You can see that Neptune is finishing its journey in the sign of Pisces and going to move into Aries. Saturn is going to join it, but also Uranus is nearing the end of its journey with in Taurus and going to move into Gemini. These three are in a mini grand trine. In other words, Pluto and Uranus are pretty much in a trine to each other, and Neptune is at the midpoint. So they are working together. So this change is even bigger in some way. And it's so complex. I think any real kind of solid, definitive predictions are pretty impossible to make, all right, for us as a collective. Now, add in the fact that we now have discovered some really far distant new beings or planetary beings. This is Sedna, which is at 0 Gemini, and will be in this trine to Pluto as Pluto enters. So foreshadowing Uranus. And as I've said many times, Sedna was last here on she has an 11,406 year orbit. So it was at the near beginning of the Stone Ages. So add in that, add in Haumea with Pluto and Haumea. This is the creatrix goddess, egg-shaped. I've written a whole article on her on my Substack, that in an ongoing square to Pluto over this whole decade that started in 22 and ends in 28. The changes we are going through are immense, and it's more than Pluto. However, saying that, I just want to share one thing with you. Why does it do this? I've got too many windows open. I shared this in a free video I did with one of my community members, Dawn Hild. We called it Fools and Lovers because 0 is the Fool's card in the tarot, new beginnings. We're going to have some hints at what Pluto in Aquarius is bringing, because we've had all of these conjunctions, right, at 0 Aquarius, and Pluto is now going to 0 Aquarius and will be there for a while. And that includes this triple conjunction of Venus, Ceres, and Pluto on December the 7th, which is such a pivotal date for the US as well. All right. So for the world, really, you know, it's a new era, a new time. And so you can take a screenshot of that if you kind of want to think back and look at some of the events and some of the times and think, what happened back then? You know, I will mention again that March 2023 and the other ingress in January 2024 were not kind to the newly elected president. So we'll see what that will bring. But we'll probably look at more of that on the collaborations I'm doing with Cassie Beale and so on. So the next 20 years, not 24, apologies for that, are going to be really interesting. And they are going to be revolutionary, but I will say not all revolutions are violent. This could be, I'm not going to say it's the end of the world as we know it, because Aquarius is very much about the collective hive mind, if you like, and coming together, the people. And there's so many other things happening. And I've also got some insights about an event that is happening in, I think it's 2026, but I'll have to kind of come back to that one for you later, because there's so much going on. So, please, 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 be both. I also think we co-create. How we respond to the energies matters. For you personally, go back and look at all those 0 Aquarius dates. You will get a hint of what's changing. Where 0 Aquarius is for you in your chart, that is going to be the area of life that Pluto is transforming. And remember, Pluto is death and transformation, or it's kind of like the butterfly, but it can be a bit painful at times, but it can also be amazingly rewarding. Pluto takes out the trash, but also digs up buried treasure. Pluto takes away what you thought was your power and leaves you with what is truly your power. So one last thing, I thought I'd pull a card. Oops, this is gain. I got this gain card, which is actually Venus in Virgo, and it's an earth card. So maybe things are not going to be so bad after all. Not that we can rely on one card, but I personally, because I work very intuitively with the energies, I have a good feeling about this journey overall because of how it's working with the other planets. And if you want to know more about that 0 degree Aquarius, please go and find that Fools and Lovers video. We did a whole big thing about it. I'm not going to go through everything again, but I will mention that the symbol for it, I'm just going to read I'm not going to read the whole thing, but John Sandbacher's Omega symbol is deciding to die, a vampire walks into the sunlight. Okay. And the Chandra symbol is a 2-headed calf, which is about our 2 selves, our conscious, objective self, and the unconscious or feeling self. And Aquarius is a dual sign. So, that just gives you a little bit of a guide. And if you want to read them in full, please just Google Chandra symbol, Chandra, 1 Aquarius, and you will find it. Or we can, because we always go up, or Sabian symbol, 1 Aquarius, and pick your favorite sites or read a few of them just to get your own feeling about this. So the Sabian symbol, though, is an old Adobe mission, and the key word for this is durability. But when positive, the degree is effective breadth of vision and a respect, compelling depth of character, and when negative, lack of ambition and blind adherence to superficialities. So I'll leave that up to you. All right, then, I've got to go. I will see you next time, but I know that so much is chatter going on about Pluto and Aquarius, and I wanted to talk about why it's in different signs for different periods too. So much love. See you next time.